We have today something very special here. It is actually my very own mentor, so I'm especially happy to have him. It's Tamer. And why do we actually do the session? Well, it was me that asked always, okay, who can I discuss with when I have product questions? It's not always easy to do within my team, but with Tamer, I've already found somebody to talk to. And I wanted to have this actually for everybody available and easy accessible. So that's why I started Product Peers, where we are all mentors and mentees at the same time. And who's Tamer? Tamer is started actually as a developer. He then was working as a consultant, as a founder. He was building up the e-commerce business for Rocket Internet at the time. And he was always enthusiastic about product design and development. And he knew as well that he wanted to improve organizations. So that's why he's working for Project A, where he focuses on discovery and strategy, supporting 40 startups of the Project A portfolio. And with no further ado, I would love to give the word to Tamer.
All right. Hi, everybody. Great to be here in that round. And yeah, Richard asked me to tell you something about the topic of product vision. And we've been also together working on this field, especially like for the company that Richard was working in that time, Opinory. And we often get this kind of question, okay, how do you actually get to a product vision? How can you make sure that you come up with something that somehow is not just like a simple statement, but something that more or less like helps you to develop yourself further? So yeah, I think I don't have control, Richard, so maybe we can jump into the next one. So no, this is one too far. So in the end, when we're talking about a product vision, there's a couple of, let's say, guiding questions that I like to use in order to come up with a product vision, or at least to decompose the product vision to some kind of stage. The interesting part of product vision is, I mean, it's great if you have a final, let's say, product vision statement that you can, like have and push out to everyone. But I found the process and the discussion around the creational process of creating a product vision even more enlightening than the final wording than in the end. And I typically like to use a couple of, let's say, guiding questions that helps me to then shape a dedicated product vision. And one thing, and I think this name is not very, let's say common or very publicly available, is the one where you can say this is where the origin of a product vision statement came from. And this is a guy called Heilmeyer, and he defined a set of questions that helps you more or less to define what you need to understand upfront before you can like come up with something. And I just like added a couple of more questions to that one because the question in itself, and this is like something that is related even more to the kind of like product world, is that whenever we want to build a product, we need to make sure that we really understand the user needs that we're serving this kind of thing for. So let's quickly go through these kind of questions. So what I like typically when I'm starting a process like creating a product vision with some of the companies, I like to ask questions about what is your market that you're operating in? What is your target groups? Who are the users that you are working with? It's not dedicatedly that I need to put these kind of information one-to-one into a, let's say, product vision statement, but I'm using this kind of questions to get an understanding of which kind of markets are we really in. And this discussion, especially like when you're just like going there openly, can lead to very, very interesting things. So for example, when I was founded my own company, and it was already like 12 years ago or something, it was a e-commerce shop for, let's say, mass customized coffee. So you can like create your own coffee blends. And of course, like we sat there and didn't have too much, let's say, clue or knowledge about that one, but we said like, we're in the coffee market, right? So this is where you start basically. But over time, if you start to discuss that, when you uncover a lot of other things, it's like, okay, are we only in the coffee market, or are we maybe also in the gift market, right? So a lot of people who buy our product in the end gave it to other people. So this might be another market dimension that we haven't uncovered yet in the first step, but we try to use this question in order to see which kind of different angles can we see this kind of market target group kind of developing thing. Second thing is, I really love to get a deep understanding of what is the user need that you're serving right now with your product. And not only right now, but also, and this is like some part that makes the vision, it's a view into the future to find out what is the user need that you want to solve, serve in this kind of sense. So what do you want to solve as a problem, actually? And last but not least, we're discussing a lot about, like what's going to be the value proposition? What is the specialty around that one? Why is it so, what's the innovation? Which kind of technology do you might going to use in order to come to that kind of thing? So how does this kind of thing look like? And in the end, and this typically sounds like very simple questions, but they're actually not very simple to answer, is the additional questions, and I would like to put an emphasis on this one, is to really try to answer the questions, what are you trying to do? And this sounds simple, but I mean, like you can check it out for you, the products that you are working in, or the companies that you're working in, or that the ideas that you have in mind. And especially the side note about like, articulate that one without using any jargon. So this is like super helpful, super interesting to go that path, to not get fed up in, like some, let's say, technical description or you're going to find it out then in the breakout session, where the struggle might be there with that one. Second one is, the big question is, how is it done today and what are the limits of the current practice? So why is there any need for your product or service to launch or develop? So what's going to be the difference that you want to make in that industry? What's the new approach? Again, this also relates a little bit to the question of the innovation or the uniqueness. And why do you think you're going to be successful? So do you got a really deep understanding of everything there? And last but not least, who cares? Right? So a little bit more provocative, but also, like what happens if you don't exist? Or what happens if you don't provide the service? What will people do in that kind of case? As you see around these kind of questions, it's typically nothing that you would find in a final statement of a product vision, but it helps you to understand what kind of questions you should have answered upfront before you can actually start to frame out this kind of very unique sentence that you're creating. And this also emphasizes that a product vision is not coming out of, let's say, a bunch of C-level sitting together in a room and ideating out of the blue what they want to do, but it's rather a very, let's say, research-driven approach where you definitely need to do the generating of insights upfront, doing the research, talking to customers, and figure out what the actual problem is that you want to solve. All right. Then let's maybe jump over, Richard, if you're fine, to the next slide then. Or is there any questions so far? All right. I don't hear big questions right now. So
let's do some questions when we start setting up the breakout rooms, because then we have some time for that.
Yeah. I just compose a couple of things where I think this is a good statement and this is not a good statement. I mean, this is not a scientific list. It's just something that I encountered from my own experience for different problems around that one. So the first thing, a product vision needs to be relevant. And what does it mean by having a relevant product vision? I mean, if you see it very pragmatic and simply, you can say a product vision is mainly, or I'm using it mainly as a decision-making system, right? So whenever you're coming up with a new feature, a new idea, or a new topic that lands on your desk, from whichever direction it comes, you can validate this kind of idea and this feature against your product vision and see if it's in there or not, right? So So you can, like take some examples from real world examples. So if you, yeah, like for example, if you take the vision, you can name a product vision from IKEA, for example. I can't rephrase it like perfectly, but it's something like building affordable, beautiful furniture and making your, let's say, living at home a very positive experience, or something like affordable living home stuff. So out of that one, you can then, like start to argue and figure out, okay, what happens if you are creating furniture? Of course, this is going to be in there. But once IKEA is, selling food, for example, what they actually do, you can validate if this is like actually part of this part of having a good living or not. And maybe it is, because it makes your living experience better and being able to make it in a cheap way. But if they, for example, would sell cars, this would definitely not anymore fit into their product vision. And this is just like giving you personally a direction and a decision criteria to say like, okay, do you want to do it or not? The second biggest thing is that I take this product vision as a motivator. So if I hear a great vision, and this is one of the factors here, I love it to be inspirational. So the moment I hear a vision and then I start to get ideas about what we can do and how this kind of thing can shape up, this is for me something that is not scientifically or analytically like provable, but something where I would say this is like definitely a better vision or a good vision. But last but not least, let me go quickly through the list. Beyond of being relevant, like having a real value in the day-to-day business, I think a product vision should be very simple. So it should be very catchy and easy to remember, not over-engineered as, like maybe in order to bash the, let's say the German culture a little bit, this like often ends up into very specific blah, blah, blah definition, long definition that no one can remember. So I think it needs to be some kind of like sticky. It should be clear and understandable for everyone. So even if someone joining as a new team member, telling them this is a product vision, then he should be like curious about it and not have too many questions. As I said already, it should be inspirational. The next thing, and this is also something that it's very, very hard to define because there is no like checklist where you can say you did a good job or not, is the scoping. So the product vision itself creates, let's say, like an outer hull of possible options, right? And this outer hull should be, in my point of view, big enough to be able to dream and to see how this company can grow to a huge company. But on the other side, it needs to be small enough and precise enough to not be too fuzzy and still serve as a decision-making criteria or a decision-making instrument. Yeah, it should be, in my point of view, also giving some kind of sense of a purpose. Why do we exist? What do we do? Again, relating a little bit to the questions of Heilmeier. And as I said already, the benchmarking to validate more or less your day-to-day ideas and decisions, to have it really used as an instrument and not just like something that you print out, hang on the wall, and just like say, okay, you live by that one and then you forget about it. Yeah. All right, so I didn't have a look at the hour. So
timing's perfectly fine. So I would love to use the questions that we just heard from you, and that we go into our breakout rooms and start working on them on our own. And while doing this, while I'm setting up the rooms, there would be some space to ask questions. So how should we do this? I have sent you in the chat some documents, and I would like to ask you to go to the Jamboard, which is the second link that I sent. The Jamboard will look like this, and I would like you to click on the sticky note, add your name, and then put it into a room, so that you could do this with with somebody you already know, or with somebody maybe you don't know, so that you match up the rooms. If you say, okay, I don't want to answer those questions, you could do this if you're not working at the company right now. You could do this with the company you worked before. Then yes, an alternative, you could as well go into the on the second slide, where you can bring your own topic. Did I send you the wrong link? Because actually, so if you should be either on challenge your product vision if you have your own, if we work on the 7 questions, or you set up your bring your own topic on slide number 2. And maybe I have sent you the wrong link, so maybe move to the first one if you want to go to the product vision deck. I will just send it again. Yes, that's the most recent link, and it's obviously it has to be 0 to be number 1. Alternatively, if you don't want to work on the product vision, then you can add your own topic for the first peer, and then the other peers can add themselves to talk about this topic. If not, then I will set up the breakout rooms here. And now you would have time for questions to Tamer while I'm setting up the rooms. And by the way, thanks, Tamer. I really found very provocative the last one. Who cares? I really like this one.
I didn't invent it, but it's I think it as well because it's like double challenges your. I mean, it's very easy to fall in love with your own ideas or to fall in love with your product, and just like seeing it from a different angle sometimes even helps to say like, okay, where could be my, let's say, flaws in the product or weak points, and getting a clear understanding is super important and helpful for me.
To the members of room number 2, it would be great if there's only 2 peers in one room, because we are very short on time for the task to execute.
Actually, I had one question.
Go ahead.
Because all the things that you just said is rather, for me, in a way, referring to how do you actually start when you're thinking about a new product, or also when you're just joining maybe a company and taking over a new product role, for example. What do you say, especially when it comes to being in that company or working on that product for a longer time? How do you make sure that you're creating new features and the product vision keeps developing, even if you're kind of stuck and you don't really know where to go to with the product, because it feels like you have already worked on a lot of things?
Okay, it's a very, very good question. So amazingly, it doesn't really matter in my experience, like how the company already exists. Even if you're just like joining a company that already has these kind of thing, it's sometimes helpful. If they already created a very compelling product vision, there's nothing to challenge about that one, but still you should be able to answer the question that I answered you. So the product vision itself makes sense to you personally as well, especially when you're in the product field itself. I believe that a product vision itself should be a little bit more longer lasting and stand the test of time. So when I'm talking about a product vision, I'm not talking about a scope of a year. I'm not talking about a scope of even 2 or 3 years. It should be even, like going more down to 5 to 10 years, right? To give something. I mean, I'm not saying that, like no matter what happens with your company, you should stick to your product vision. I think this is also not true. But at least it should be something that will not be, like recreated over time. And you can see it, for example, in the, I mean, it's a little bit comparable, but it's like so tangible. So this is why I'm taking these examples now, but let's take the vision from SpaceX, right? Like save mankind from extinction. This is something that will definitely be probably true in 3, 4, 5, 10 years as well. And it will always be true. Or the idea of this kind of like making home living affordable for as many people as possible, like IKEA has it, or let's say the customer centricity and selling products of an Amazon is also a vision that will that stands for 10 years and still is true. And this is like what I also look for. A vision should not be something that you wash away the moment there's something coming across your way. So this is what I mean with that one. So no matter what, whenever I jump into a company, and typically I mean, we're not only investing into, you know, like startups that are having, let's say 1-2 people or just like starting up with the idea. We even invest in companies that have a let's say 10 years of a track record. And still this question is something that I try to answer for myself personally in the first days when I'm joining. And if I'm in there, you sometimes lose traction and you forget about these kind of things. So it's very, very good for you to like constantly challenge yourself if you've got this one on top of your mind as well, or if you got it clear. And the second thing is the product vision itself is not enough to give you a direction for future development. The product vision is just like one instrument that does that one. So the product vision itself has only these kind of like outer scope of things that you can do. But I've been in many companies where we had a compelling product vision, but still the team was not able to know what we're going to do next. And this is where, for example, a product vision needs to be completed with, let's say, goals, like you can see in, for example, OKRs. It could be completed with a roadmap, which is a little bit more tangible and down to earth. It should be completed with a roadmap, with a release plan even. And even many more things that, you know, like help you to figure out in which direction you go. Sometimes the product vision is just like too broad in order to say, okay, I've got like 2-3 new features. I know exactly which one I should go for next. But, and this is something that I can highly recommend you, is checking the consistency between all these kind of things that you use in order to build these kind of things up. So again, if you have a product vision, you might need a roadmap, you might need a goal setting system like an OKR system, you might need whatever it is. But what is super important is to bring all these kind of things together and challenge them with each other. So if you have an OKR that doesn't fit into your product vision, there's a mistake. It's just like a bug or like conceptual error. And you should like try to put it in a way that everything like fits together. Only in that case, you can really develop in the right direction. Does it make sense?
Great. Thank you very much. And I really appreciate that you come back to saying, okay, we need to answer these questions all the time, no matter how perfect the product vision might be, because we have to understand it ourselves. So that's why I would like to ask you to that we go into the breakout rooms. Please, one of the peers should be the timekeeper. It could be maybe the one which has the name earlier in the alphabet, so it makes it easier. Then please present yourself, just 1 minute each, city, company name, role, team size, something like this, so you understand each other. Then go into open a sheet or something and I'll answer the 7 questions in 7 minutes, so 1 minute each. Then go and explain what you found out. And it could be perfectly fine that you will not be able to answer those questions because it's not possible in 1 minute, but it should be giving you a hint whether you found a pain point or whether something was very easy to do for you. And then the other peer should then be able to challenge you and what you said, so that you might get even more inspiration. And then you flip sides and the other one would explain. And then you will challenge this person. And when you're ready, this will be then 12:50. Please go back to the first slide where you have your name and edit your name, and then add a learning of the day, or maybe an action point if you have some, or how you want to continue. So with this, you have the link to the presentation. So you have the 7 questions and you have the slide here. Please, I would like to start you if there's no open question. Give me a thumbs up. Okay, then see you later.